Hello, Wine World. Thank you so much for joining us this Sunday, May 23rd at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. My guest today is Giovanna from La Spinona Winery from Barbaresco, Italy.
Hi there. Hi, Amy. Thanks for inviting me. It's such a pleasure to be with you today.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you. Giovanna and I know each other for at least a year, maybe even closer to 2 years.
Yes.
We met through a Facebook group that we were both working on our social media accounts. And since then, we've developed a really nice friendship. Today we're going to be discussing two of La Spinona Barbaresco wines. We have a 2015 vintage and a special 2012 Reserva.
Yes. Great. I'm so excited.
Yes. So to start off, I always like to start my lives with going through the wines, and we're going to discuss the 5 S's, sight, swirl, sniff, smell, and then we're going to hear what, as a person behind the scene, because do you have an actual part in playing with and making the wine? Like, are you part of like all the tastings and how you blend it? Is that some experience that you have?
Well, part of it, La Spinona is owned by my husband, Pietro, and his dad, Gualtiero. It's a family business. It's a 5-generation winery, family business. And when Pietro needs to have a commercial kind of view, then he asked me to join the tasting because it's always a duo of Pietro and his enologist, Riccardo, that works with him very closely. So it's nice to have another insight. I'm a wine lover, but since I met him, I was introduced in the wine world, and it's such a fascinating world. You learn by experience. You learn by tasting, by visiting wine regions, and the more you learn, the more you feel fascinating by this world. I don't know you, Amy, but I think it's the same for you.
It is. Wine is such a big passion of mine. I recently just decided to focus solely in the future with wine studies just on Italian wines. So
wow.
Yes, I'm going to make the huge commitment to study all the varieties. And it's really nice because our mutual friend Chloe is doing the same. And I also have a really good friend here in the States, Russ, who we may be able to get together and like really bunker down on our studies.
Nice. Very nice.
So I'm going to start with the 2015 vintage of the Barbaresco. First, as I poured it, I just want to let you know, very aromatic. Not only am I more sensitive to smells right now, but it is very welcoming, and I can't wait to have a sip. For color, I'm going to say it is more of like a clear, pale rim. I would call it garnet, and again, it's a 2015, so now we're 6 years. And for aromas, I like to do this. I smell red fruits, floral notes, but I can't exactly say what they are. I think the region is known for violet smelling wines.
Yeah, violet, partly you can find some violet, especially on the fresher Nebbiolos. You might find a lot of violet, and this as a violet, it's quite a compliment for 2015 Barolo. The color that you see, it's very true what you said, is it seems like lighter in a sense. But the good thing is that it's very vibrant. So the nice thing, so Nebbiolo doesn't have this ink this, very dark color, as for example, you might find by Cabernet or other wines. But the good thing is that the color is steady throughout the years. It gets a little more into brick color throughout the years when it gets very old. But the nice thing is that it's always very nice and vibrant.
Very nice. And if I were to describe the red fruit, I want to say it kind of reminds me of like a red currant, maybe, or some cranberry. How do you?
Yeah, it has something like this. It has something like this. It's a nice, interesting mix between the red fruits and some other aromas that come like herbal, like herbs. So it's like a mix in between these two kinds of aromas, as I smell.
Yes, I can definitely pick up on some herbal notes as well. I can't really narrow down like what kind of. It reminds me of a seasoning of some type.
Yeah.
Maybe oregano, maybe something like it, maybe basil more.
Yeah, something like in that direction. I smell also a little bit of mint, rosemary, these kinds of, but very subtle notes.
Definitely, that's what it is. It's rosemary.
I have a herbal garden right outside my house, so that's why I smell it all the time: rosemary, mint, and other herbs.
Yes, and that's a great point, Giovanna. When you're studying wine and you want a very quick way to kind of get those herbal notes, definitely go to the local store, get those spices.
Yeah, exactly.
Those, because it's definitely going to come out in some wines, especially this Nebbiolo grape varietal. For taste on the palate, I love tannins, and I haven't had wine in a very long time, so this is delicious. And red fruit forward,
yeah,
well balanced. I would say alcohol content maybe 13, maybe higher percent alcohol by volume. Dry. And acidity, it's well balanced, but I would say like medium to high acidity, just knowing it's varietal and what it has to offer. But overall, highly recommend it. If the tannins went away as soon as it hit the palate too, it didn't stay very long. The finish, I would give it medium, and definitely delicious for a 2015. I'm very impressed. I know these wines are age at least 5 years before consuming. So to experience this wine, it's delicious.
Thank you.
What do you want to share with us wine enthusiasts and consumers? What is the goal of a 2015 Barbaresco?
Yeah, you mentioned a couple of points that are, truly the goals of Pietro's winemaking. You said the dry. Yes, the wines for him have to be dry. Of course, Barbaresco and Barolo are dried wines, but he really aimed to make very clean wines, clean on the palate, and that's what you tasted. It doesn't have to have any sugar residue. It has to be very, very dry and clean. And the other point you mentioned is also true for us. So the wines have to age, so they have to be good if you leave it like the wine cellar in 10 years time, 15 years time. But Pietro's goal is to make wines that can be drunk also. They're suitable to be drunk. You don't have to wait for like years to be drunk. And that is the reason why he releases wines always 1 year later than the normal wine producers. Like we're out with the 2017 Barbaresco now. So it's always 1 year later than the normal vintage release, let's say, just because he wants wants the wine to stay a little longer in the wine cellar, and when you release them, they have to be ready or almost ready. That's another goal. And the third goal is to make elegant wines.
Yes.
So when you pointed out that is a very balanced wine, that is another of his goal. It has to be elegant, more on the elegant side. Also the tannins. Tannins are there. That's a Nebbiolo-based wine, so tannins have to be there. But at the same time, you have to, it's always a nice way to enjoy wine. It just doesn't have to be only tannins. It's tannin and much more complexity beneath.
Yes, I definitely want to pick up on, I really appreciate that Pietro holds it that extra year, because it gives consumers, the notion that, okay, well, the winemaker is holding on to this because he knows it deserves more time.
Yeah.
And it also helps us consumers understand that, all right, it still needs some time, but that he is releasing it at the time he feels is best. So it also helps build a nice, trusting relationship with your brand.
Yeah, definitely.
Wonderful. And also, yes, it definitely, if I were to describe the vintage we just had, definitely the word is elegant. So definitely for anyone who enjoys tannic wines, or people who are being introduced to tannins, I highly recommend that vintage, because it wasn't overpowering at all. Oftentimes when you hear Nebbiolo, you may feel like, oh, I'm not sure, but you know what, this one, definitely go for it. I highly recommend it. We're gonna go next to the 2012 Reserva. Gotta get used to which way the camera is, so. Okay. Upon pouring this wine, I just want to note that one of the aromas that was the most forward was actually a leather-like aroma. And I know that's what happens sometimes when it's aged a bit longer. For color, you can tell it's darker. In a little bit, I'm going to pull both up. But as you stated earlier, it's darker, a darker rim. It's still clear, but I would give this more of a darker garnet. And I didn't mention body on the last one, but body on this, it's hanging on. We got a medium to full, more towards the full body. Those legs are really holding on to the glass. For aromas, yeah, like I'm still getting leather and dark spices and blacker fruits this time. I'm not as much as the red fruits from the 2015 vintage. I'm getting some notes of chocolate as well. Maybe even some caramel.
Yeah, it's quite a difference compared to the Barbaresco 2015. And note that it's the same vineyard.
Yes.
So we're talking about the Bricco Facette. Bricco meaning on the top of the hill, and Facette is one of the MGA in Barbaresco. Is right in Barbaresco. Is right in front of our vineyard, of our winery. So, but you feel there is a big complexity, a lot more extract, and the color, as you mentioned, is more intense, is darker.
Yeah.
I feel also tones of tobacco coming out,
Yes.
something more intense, also. And the spice, like a darker spice as compared to the 2015.
If I were to describe, sometimes when I smell spices of a wine, I like to compare it to like a dessert that I would create or imagine. And this is like a spicy plum pie with notes of chocolate, cinnamon. I smelled the leather. Maybe even fig and tobacco.
Mm-hmm.
Probably
yeah,
fig,
that's true.
better note due to the region over plum, but Yes, I would say more fig.
Yeah, I can smell that.
And a little bit less herbal notes because the
Yeah.
spices are a little bit more pronounced this time due to, remind me what kind of aging barrels you use.
We use barrels that are about 25 hectoliters on the Riserva, as opposed to about 38, 40 hectoliters, so bigger barrels for the Barbaresco facette. And these are older barrels, let's say about 30 years old. We use both French oak and Slavonian oak. We like to use both because the French oak has got a sweeter kind of taste as opposed to the Slavonian oak. So it depends a lot. But one thing important is that it stays at least 1 year longer in oak barrel as opposed to the Barbaresco that by law has to stay 9 months.
It's wonderful facts that we can all appreciate. It's so nice when we do these chats with someone representing the winery itself. It helps to connect the wine to the region and really get that inside perspective of putting it all together. It's an experience. I like to tell my followers, wine is an experience. You may taste it and, just nonchalantly say, well, it's wine, but there's so much more to it. This wine is from Italy. Like, you are transporting yourself in one location through a sip to Italy. And that's what's so beautiful about wine.
That's so true. And also it's quite special about Riserva because we don't make Riserva every year. So it's just some vintages when we think that the wine might need more time to develop, as it was in 2012, more time to express itself. So, and in this time, we make about 3,000 bottles, not more, of the Riserva. And we decide right from the vineyard to take some part of the wine for the Riserva. So it's a decision, it's an early decision that started from the harvest. So it's quite a thing also.
Wonderful. On the palate, so smooth. Velvety, luscious on the palate. Again, I'm getting those spices are more predominant due to aging. The darker fruits. I'm going to keep going with fig because that's when I think of the region. I think of figs, and it's a longer finish. It's still going. Very nice, elegant wine again. And alcohol content, I would say, is closer maybe to 14%. But I'm telling you, this finish is still going. It's not overpowering at all. It's just smooth. Very well done. Great vintage.
Thank you, thank you. That's what I like about the Riserva. You can feel the complexity, you can feel the extract, but at the same time, it's a wine that you can enjoy really, at a nice meal with a nice meal. I love this wine I personally love it with cured cheese. I'm a fan of cheese, so. Yeah, so I think that really this kind of wine, this Barbaresco Riserva with cured cheese, is just something awesome to taste.
Going on top of that, what exact cheeses would you use to pair with your wines?
For example, a Parmigiano Reggiano with at least 24 months cured, because you have to have the aging also in the cheese. We have some local cheese, for example, Rasquera or Castelmagno. They are done on the hills here close, that are aged, and so that they are wonderful. So I would go for in the US, for example, with a Parmigiano Reggiano at least 24 months.
That's a great tip, and I'm gonna have to run to the store and make sure I have that, because I'm also sharing these wines with family members. Now that we know about the wines, again, I'm going to try to share them. I'm just going to show myself on the screen just to get a better wide view of the wines. Okay, so I just want to share the wines on the screen. This is the 2015 here, and this is the 2012 Reserva. And I just want to see, it might be harder to actually tell. So again, this is the Reserva, I'm sorry, this is the Reserva, so this is the 2012. Nice and dark, you can see a darker rim. Rim meaning like, think of how you can tell like it's the paleness of the outside. So as I'm swirling, you can see the difference in color. So the lighter color is being shown, that's like part of the rim. And this is the 2015. So it's lighter than the other one. Both wines, elegant. If you're looking for the darker spices, then totally go for the Reserva. Has the longer finish. Then the 2015 has more tannins, but it's still well balanced and has more of like red fruits. So that's both. I give 5 out of 5. This is my first time actually having Barbaresco, so I'm very happy it's your wines, Giovanna. Thank you so much for sending them. Now that we know more about the wines, I'd love to get to know about you and your life on a vineyard. So can you tell us a bit about the winery and your vineyard location?
Yeah, that's so La Spinona, as I said, it's a family winery since 5 generations. Actually, they started, the grandfather of Pietro bought the first piece of land, the vineyard in the Facette Cru. And they were at the beginning, back in the 20s, just farmers. And they enjoyed the wine. They made the wine and enjoyed the wine in the family and with the friends. But it was around in the 60s, so after the war, that Pietro's grandfather started to market and to sell the wine and founded La Spinona as a winery. And there's also a nice story that is linked to the label. You see that there is a picture of a dog on the label, and that's a Spinone dog. That's an Italian breed that is very good for either hunting or truffle hunting here in the area. And the Gualtiero, Pietro's father, was going hunting by the river, by the Tanaro River here, by Barbaresco. He fell into the river and he was saved by his dog, Baika. The dog helped him out of the river. And so when they decided to find the winery, they called the winery in the name of Baika. So that's why La Spinona and the picture of the dog on the label.
I think that is such a great story, but I also think it's very smart to put the dog on the label because there's so many dog lovers and there are consumers who go out there and are looking for a label to attract them. And of course, adorable. So again, it's a great way to welcome consumers to picking up your wine at stores or online.
That's very funny because it's now very trendy, as there are so many dog lovers. In the past, it didn't used to be very, very trendy to have that picture, but it's nice to be part of this group of dog lovers because we're animal lovers. So it's good.
That's great. And what varietals do you grow in your vineyard, and which is your favorite?
That's a good question. What's your favorite? So we grow, the vineyards that we have are 24 hectares, about 60 acres altogether. And they are in 2 locations, in Barbaresco and in Novello, in the Barolo area for the Barolo wine. So the varietals are Chardonnay, the only white wine that we produced. And we were the first ones to introduce Chardonnay, to plant Chardonnay in the 80s here in Barbaresco, which was quite a new thing for the area. Then we have a Dolcetto for Dolcetto d'Alba. We grow Barbera for Barbera d'Alba Superiore, and we grow Nebbiolo. So out of Nebbiolo, we make Langhe Nebbiolo, which is quite fresh, doesn't go through aging in oak. And we have 2 labels of Barbaresco and 2 labels of Barolo. And the Barolo Chinato also, and Grappa.
Yes, yes. I was sharing a reel. I might be sharing the highlight reel that we put together
Yes.
on the Facebook page, just so everyone can really get a glimpse of the picturesque landscape that you live on. It's gorgeous. It's a beautiful view. And you are very talented in making your reels. They're very entertaining and educational at the same time.
Thank you. We had a good teacher, though. And I've learned everything, from scratch, because my degree is language translation. So I learned wine, I learned how to make reels, digital marketing. But it's nice to explore and to learn new abilities, as you go on. So it's also a lot of fun.
It is, and I think you're doing wonderful to help Spinona stand out. So that's great.
Thank you.
So you were mentioning, because my next question would be, how long have you been making wine? So you were saying the 80s, right?
It was in the late 60s when we started to bottle the first wines. And in the 80s, it was a Chardonnay. So yeah, so let's say after the war, the first bottles started to come out.
Very, very interesting. And how would you explain the style of wine that you have with winemaking?
Yeah, the winemaking, we already a little talked about it. So the Pietro's winemaking is to make a very clean and elegant wine. So that's his number one goals. Wines that are natural. So we try to keep, for example, the work in the vineyard is very, very important, is extremely important. So we try to keep it very, very easy, simple, not to have any pesticide or anything like that, and we work still with cooperative on a manual way. And with tractors, so it's more mechanic and manual, and reduce everything else, because in the end, the quality of the wine and the respect for the environment are essential to us.
I really think that's such an important answer, because it's so nice that we know as consumers how taken care of the grapes are, turning it to wine. And again, that's what makes your wine so special. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. And also another important, interesting thing might be that Pietro's father used to be a vet, and he still has cattle. So we use the manure to fertilize the soil and the vineyards. So that's partly, it's not organic, as certified organic, our wine, but it has some organic practice and some biodynamics practice that we use every day in our vineyards.
That's great, because when I think old world wines, everything you just described is how I would picture your region taking care of their wines. So that's really cool to hear and put it together. When I'm studying for Italian wines, I'm going to be thinking, oh, Giovanna was mentioning the cattle and, the manual and mechanical work, and that's awesome.
By the way, you are invited here.
I can't wait. One day I will definitely be, in the future, I will definitely be traveling to Italy for Italian regions, especially I'm going to be pursuing these Italian wines.
Great. That'd be good.
And our last question of the day, what do you enjoy most about your current position in wine?
Oh, as personally, as me? Yeah, I enjoy, trying out different wines. I love wines from my region, but I enjoy also going to learn to other regions, wine regions, and learn about wines. That's the fantastic thing about wine. It's international, and you can find very good wines everywhere. There's still so much to discover here in Piedmont because the region has got so many different kinds of wines, and even in one type of wine has got so many different producers and winemaking styles. So that's what I enjoy the most. And also meeting people from all over the world when I go to wine shows. That's just a part of my job because I have another job as an export manager in a chocolate factory. But I think that's nice to put together chocolate spread and wine because in the end it's all about passion.
Well, I think you have the best jobs in the world. You're bringing food and wine together. I mean, when you think of life in general, I mean, we live for those experiences, food and wine. And so you have the best of both worlds. I would like to
Definitely.
discuss next about your website. And we spoke earlier, and you have a free ebook.
Yes, it was, it just, we decided to release it after COVID because we were basically eating at home all the time, like most of you guys. So Pietro is a very good cook, and he started to cook and cook and cook, and we were getting fat. But at the same time, we started to put down some recipes, and then this book just came out almost by itself. So we thought that it was a good idea to put it as a freebie on our internet page, and so that and also to put a pairing with the wine, so you can pair these are 5 recipes. You can pair them with Nebbiolo based wines, and try out the recipes yourself, and also try to pair them. So that's I think it's a fun thing to do.
That's great. I think that is brilliant that you were both able to, you know, easily come up with this ebook. So I just want to share with everyone how to get that free ebook. So here is their website, and I will share the link in the chat in a moment. But there's an option for the ebook right here. You're going to click it. And here you're going to write your name, your email, and that quick check, 2 checks, and you're gonna get the 5 quick and easy recipes you can pair with Nebbiolo, Barbaresco, and Barolo. And it's gonna be great because you're going to be able to easily pair these wines with those recipes that they shared. So I think it's brilliant, again, that you're connecting food and wine and making it easier for us wine enthusiasts and consumers to put the two together.
Definitely.
The last thing I'd like to share is the best way to contact you on how to get your wines. You mentioned to go to the Contact Us portion here in the menu.
Yes. Our way, we have a lot, we work with a lot of importers in the United States and in Europe, depending on the state. So probably the easiest way would be just to send us an email and say where you're located, so we can connect you to the importer of the state or of the country you live in. This might be the easiest way, probably.
That's wonderful. Going to share that Contact Us link.
Yes, exactly. So in case we don't have an importer in that state or in the country, we can work out a way to deliver directly to your doorstep. So these are the 2 possibilities of getting in touch with us and purchasing our wines.
Giovanna, I had a great time. I'm not seeing any questions as of yet, but don't let that stop you. Please comment below if you're catching the replay. I know I can forward the questions to Giovanna, and she'd be more than happy to answer them. But I just want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I know it's a 6-hour difference, so it is your evening and it's our early afternoon here in the States. I had a lovely time drinking your elegant wines. Very, very highly recommend you contact Giovanna or the team via the link I have sharing on the screen to figure out where you can get these wines. Highly recommend.
Thank you very much, Emmy. It was a pleasure to talk about wines with you. Thanks for the invitation.
All right, you have a great rest of your evening, and thanks again.
You too. Good afternoon. Thanks. Bye. Bye-bye. Cheers.
Cheers.